Hey folks, Dustin here, and in today's video, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different, and that is because I am going to be reviewing the Idio Syncrasy disc golf shoe, which has been marketed as the first ever disc golf specific shoe. And I've seen a lot of reviews out there for this shoe, but I feel like a lot of them have been more kind of first impressions reviews where people have only really gotten a chance to use them for a few weeks or maybe even less than that whenever they've actually given their take on the shoe and how good it is and things of that nature. And I feel like the vast majority of reviews out there for the Idio shoe are very positive. A lot of those reviews come from people who are either partnered with Idio and maybe got the product for free or something along those lines. And I'm here to tell you that I actually, bought these shoes with my own money. I've never had any communications with Idio, and so I'm just kind of giving you my straight up take on how I feel about the shoe and what I think the pros and cons of this shoe are. Just to kind of give you a bit of a background, when the Kickstarter first got announced for this shoe a few years back, I backed it immediately just because I thought it was a really cool concept. I'm all for supporting small businesses, particularly ones that are trying to innovate and create really cool products for something that I enjoy, like disc golf. And so when I saw what they were trying to do, and I saw this idea of having a disc golf specific shoe, I thought it was a very novel idea. A lot of the technology that they were talking about putting into the shoe seemed like it made sense. It seemed like it could make it a really good product. And so I backed it, pretty much as early as I possibly could. Now, I actually wound up forgetting that I backed it, and so later on, just before the shoe actually finally started shipping, I actually ordered another pair, having forgot that I backed the original Kickstarter. And so I actually wound up with two pairs of shoes from Idio, two different pairs of Idio Syncrasies. One pair is still pretty much brand new. I haven't really worn them. I think I've only worn them like maybe once or twice, and other than that, they're basically brand new. And then I have one pair that I've actually been using for a few months now. Obviously, at first, there were a lot of logistical issues with the first batch of shoes that got shipped out to people who either did it through Kickstarter or ordered very early on. I think it was issues with manufacturing as well as shipping and customs. Obviously, COVID created complications with, logistics. And so I'm not really going to complain about that at all. I mean, certainly the shoes wound up shipping out and getting received by customers a lot later than anticipated. But that's something that I completely understood. They did a very good job keeping people updated with emails and being very transparent with their communications on what was going on, why things were delayed. And so I have a lot of respect for them, being upfront about that situation. And so I never really had any qualms with the actual delivery process and how long it took to get the shoe and things of that nature. No problem at all. But I'm here to tell you that while there are a lot of positive things about the Idio Syncrasy disc golf shoe, I do think that A, some of the marketing and hype around it is a little bit exaggerated. And B, I do think that there are a couple of key issues with the shoe that need to be addressed going forward if they were ever to come out with another shoe, which the day that I'm releasing this video, I actually saw on their social media that they had some big announcement coming out, which may or may not have already come out before I released this video, where they might be announcing a new shoe. And so I'm not really sure if some of the things I'm going to say will get addressed with this new shoe, but I really hope so, because I think there are a lot of really cool things about the Idio Syncrasy shoe, but I do think that there are a couple of pitfalls as well. And so without further ado, let's get into the kind of the pros and cons. So the first thing I'll say is one thing I really do like about the shoe is the toe cap here. This is something that they really marketed a lot, this toe cap on the front of the shoe. And really the big thing about it is that it was supposed to be super durable for people who might drag their toe on the tee pad whenever they're throwing or something along those lines, that this is supposed to kind of protect your toe, be a durable piece of the shoe that wouldn't wear and tear too much. And I will say one of the big positives about this shoe is that this toe cap has indeed, after several months of use, still remained in really good shape. It has done its job. I'm not really one that drags their toe very much when I throw, but for people who do, I can definitely see how this could be very useful. I do think that this element of the shoe is quite nice. It also is a little bit wider, kind of at the top of the shoe where your toes would be, which makes it a little bit more comfortable. So I do give them huge props for that as well. That's another big positive for the shoe that I think is, something to really look forward to at the shoe. The other thing that I really liked about the shoe is that it is, fairly element proof. I didn't really have any issues initially, when it came to the waterproofing of the shoe. I could step into puddles that would come basically all the way up to the laces. So, a few inches of water and not really have water seep into the shoe in any sort of way, which was super nice. And so that's another big positive for the shoe, in my opinion. Another big positive for the shoe, in my opinion, is that it was just comfortable and lightweight. I have worn pretty much every trail shoe you can think of that disc golfers would normally use for playing disc golf. Adidas Gore-Texes, the Nike Trails, the Columbia has shoes, Keen, Solomon, Merrill. I have worn a lot of those shoes. I think Merrill might be the only brand I haven't worn before in the past. And one thing that I have found with some of those brands is that the shoe can kind of feel heavy on the foot. It can kind of be uncomfortable. It can also cause a lot of heat to be trapped, and so therefore your feet get sweaty and it's a little bit uncomfortable. The Nike Trails I've worn in the past actually are really light on the feet and actually feel quite good, particularly the Pegasus Trail shoes. Also, the Vans Ultra Range line, I think, is another fantastic, lightweight, comfortable pair of shoes that you can play disc golf in. The only downfall about the Vans Ultra Range line is that it's not waterproof. So if you're playing in wet conditions, maybe not the best, but if you know you're going to be in dry conditions and you're going to have good tee surfaces and things of that nature, I think the Vans Ultra Range are actually fantastic shoes to use for disc golf. And it's not surprising because when you think about skateboarding shoes, the motions that you do with your shoe on the skateboard kind of mimic sliding your foot on a tee pad or twisting on a tee pad or something like that. So I actually think that skateboarding shoes alongside trail shoes are probably some of the better shoes to attempt to use to play disc golf until we wait for maybe more disc golf specific shoes to come to the market. To this day, Idio is the only disc golf specific shoe that has come out. Now, whether or not other companies will eventually invest in taking one of their shoes and tweaking it a little bit to try to make it a little bit more disc golf specific, who knows? I think maybe as the sport becomes more popular, if it continues to grow, that could be a possibility. Or maybe Idio will eventually continue to kind of innovate and revamp what they've done and try to make a better quality product going forward. But all in all, this is what we have so far. But while I have noted some things I really liked about the shoe, like the toe cap, like the waterproofing, like, the lightweight, how comfortable it is because it has the wider toe box, so it's very comfortable to wear. Also, initially, the tread pattern and stuff was quite good. I never really had any issues getting good traction when I was planting my foot. I never really had any issues slipping, even on somewhat wet tee pads, when I first started using the shoe. It actually worked out pretty well. Didn't really have any issues. So all in all, there are a lot of positives about the shoe. And I feel like the positive I'm sharing with you are reflected by a lot of the reviews that you've probably seen out there about the Idio shoe. However, I do have a couple of key issues with the Idio shoe when it comes to quality control and when it comes to durability. You see, the pair that I've been showing you is the new pair of shoes that I haven't really worn yet. However, I have this shoe, which is my right shoe, on the original pair of Idios that I got, that I have only been wearing for, at this point, I've been using them for about 5 or 6 months. But I started wearing them in October of 2022, and I started having issues with them as early as February of 2023. So only within about 4 months did I start noticing issues with the shoe. So the first issue I noticed is, if you compare the tread to that shoe that I just showed you that was brand new, if you look at this one, after just using it for a few months, you can see the tread is pretty much entirely gone on this one side of the shoe that I'm rubbing my finger across. And that is the side of the shoe on my right foot that I would be planting on the tee pad, and that would be, twisting whenever I was releasing off the plant. And so at this point, after only about 4 months, all of this tread where I plant and twist is pretty much entirely gone. And therefore, now I am noticing when I plant, I will sometimes slip or not get good traction. And I understand that there is going to be normal wear and tear on any shoe, and eventually tread is going to wear down no matter what shoe that you have. But when I compare this shoe and the amount of tread that I have lost in that 4-month period, I have never lost that amount of tread on any other trail shoe that I've worn, whether it be Adidas Terrex, whether it be Nike Trails, whether it be the Vans, whether it be the Columbias that I've worn in the past. They have lasted longer is the point I'm getting at. So the durability of the tread on the shoe, it does lack. And I think it's because there's a lot of empty space between each little piece of tread that, means that you're going to be lacking tread. There's going to be more chances for wear, and therefore you're going to have more chances for these bigger bald spots, which is going to lead to having issues planting and having good traction and such long term. So that is one issue that I do have with the shoe. The other issue that I have with the shoe, and this is the biggest issue with the shoe, forgetting, the stuff with the tread wearing out, is that, one of the things that they really marketed about the shoe alongside, like the drag-on toe box and the waterproofing and how wide the toe box was for it feeling comfortable, and things that they had about this whole like thing with the heel and how it could help you kind of release easier to prevent injury, and kind of this whole plant zone and stuff like that. One of the other big things that they talked about was kind of this higher parting line on the side of the shoe, which basically, you can kind of see that this parting line is a little bit higher compared to a lot of other shoes. And so therefore that was supposed to prevent when you would kind of plant your foot on that side and twist, it would kind of help prevent tears and blowouts by having that higher parting line, which is something I really look forward to, because in a lot of the trail shoes I've worn in the past, that was the main thing that would go wrong, is that sidewall of the shoe would really start to rip and tear and blow out from the planting and sliding that will happen, whenever you're driving off the tee box. However, this shoe, and I'm going to put some pictures up because you can't really see it now because I've used a lot of shoe glue to try to repair the shoe so I can continue using it. I'll post these pictures up now, and I'll have them up on screen as I'm talking, but you can see that the whole bottom of the shoe basically separated from the top part of the shoe. The whole midsole, or whatever you want to call it, just completely came apart from the shoe. And what this did is it obviously kind of destroyed the structural integrity of the shoe. It basically killed any waterproofing that it had, and it just made it to where I had to use like shoe glue and stuff to kind of patch it back up just to be able to use it again. Now, my problem is that this happened within only about 3 or 4 months of using the shoe. I have never experienced this with any other trail shoe that I've worn. And I did contact customer support, but unfortunately there's only a like 14 or 15 day return period, and there's only a 60-day warranty on the shoe, which is not a long time. That basically means that they're only covering the shoe when it comes to a warranty for like defects and flaws and stuff like that for only 2 months, which is not a long time. And maybe other shoe companies have even smaller warranties, and so maybe in that case Idio's being a bit generous. But I do feel like the fact that I had this situation happen, which I'm going to put up on screen again, where the whole bottom of the shoe separated from the top of the shoe, that feels more like a defect or a quality control issue, or like something along those lines, as opposed to a durability issue that comes from normal wear and tear. Again, the tread, I could argue, yeah, maybe that's normal wear and tear, although it wore out a lot faster than any other shoe that I've worn in the past playing disc golf. But the fact that the whole bottom of the shoe was coming apart from the top part of the shoe, to me, is more of a defect, more of a manufacturing inconsistency issue, and something that I would have hoped that their customer support would try to help me with, and they really didn't. They basically shut me out and said, hey, you're past your 60 days, you're out of luck. You can try to glue the shoe back together and use it, and that's that. But as it stands, I glued the shoe back together. At this point, it's no longer really waterproof anymore. At this point, I don't really get the traction as much anymore when I plan on it. And the shoe's basically falling apart, and that's only after using it for about 4 or 5 months. And so the durability on the shoe, which was the main thing that I was concerned about, just because it is from an indie company, and therefore you kind of wonder about the quality of manufacturing and materials and stuff like that when it comes to an indie company. Unfortunately, those issues have really kind of come to light, and that's really disappointing, because the shoe was kind of priced right around the same price as a Nike Trail or an Adidas, Terex shoe. It was kind of like that $120, $130 range, which is what most like top-end company shoes cost. Now, I think they're on sale right now for like $80 or $90, so they're a little bit lower in cost in comparison to top trail shoes now. But back when you were supporting the Kickstarter, or back when you were making your early orders when the shoe first started coming out, you were basically paying a premium price for it. And so for it to be a shoe that lasted not nearly as long as other trail shoes, that is a big concern to me. And the other big concern to me is that, I could write it off as me maybe just being unlucky, but I've had friends who have had the same problem. Like 2 of my local friends also got Idios, and they had the exact same thing happen where the bottom of the shoe separated from the rest of the shoe, like the pictures that I showed you. Except in some of their cases, it was actually even worse, and they couldn't even really repair it. They just had to toss them and buy a new pair of shoes. And that's just 2 of my local friends. And I've also seen other people posting on Reddit and other social media sites having similar issues. Now, I've also seen plenty of people come out and say that they really love their Idio shoes and they have no issues at all. And this could either be because A, they got the product for free and they reviewed it. B, maybe they might be partnering with Idio, and so therefore, they're not going to obviously rag on their own company that supports them. Or B, generally, there may be people who received a good product and haven't had any issues with it. again, maybe there are just certain batches that were bad. And maybe it's just inconsistency issues in manufacturing where some idiosyncrasy shoes turn out great and last for a long time and do everything that Idio says they should. And then maybe some people like myself just happen to get a bad pair that unfortunately didn't last very long and had issues. So that's just kind of my take on the Idio shoe. The Idiosyncrasy being the first shoe that they came out with. I'm not sure if they're going to come out with more. Like I said, as I'm putting this video out, they seem to be hinting at an announcement for a new shoe coming out. But again, while there are a lot of great features about this shoe, and I want to like this shoe, and I did genuinely like the shoe the first few months I was using it, the fact that it started to fall apart so fast, really made it hard to enjoy the shoe as much as I wanted to, basically. And so I just kind of want to put this video out to kind of explain my pros and cons and experiences with the Idio shoe. Again, at this point, I would say that I'm a little hesitant to recommend it just because of some of the potential quality control and durability issues that the shoe may have, depending on, if you happen to get a good pair or maybe you get a lemon like I did. And while I do have some positive things to say about the shoe, I'm not completely trying to bash Idio. There are some real concerns to me when it comes to durability and quality control and, issues with defects and things of that nature that hopefully will get addressed going forward. But just wanted to put this out there. Again, if you're looking for recommendations for disc golf shoes, I do think if you don't need something that's waterproof and you know that you're going to be in dry conditions, I think the Vans Ultra Range line is a nice, lightweight, comfortable shoe that has great tread, that's very durable, and that you can get a lot of good use out of. And generally, they're going to be a cheaper shoe than some of the trail shoes out there. And then outside of that, I've had some luck with some of the Nike trail shoes, like the Pegasus Trail and the Wild Horses. I can recommend those as well. And maybe in the future, the Idio can be a shoe that can be a disc golf specific product that turns out great for the consumers out there. But for right now, I have my concerns. But that's going to do it. Catch you next time.